Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
For years, Molly Qerim was the steady presence at the helm of First Take, steering chaotic debates and keeping egos in check while big personalities clashed around her. But behind the smiles and smooth transitions, she now hints at a very different reality. One where trust was broken, alliances were shifting, and Stephen A. Smith wasn't the supportive colleague many viewers assumed.
Molly is a friend. Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And
now she has finally broken her silence, and what she has to say about Stephen A. Smith could flip ESPN's polished image on its head. Was Molly's exit from ESPN really clean? Or are we talking full-on soap opera drama? Because the way this story has been buzzing online, it's starting to feel like the latter. Insiders have long whispered about power struggles at ESPN, but Molly's revelations give those rumors teeth. She suggests Smith wasn't just chasing ratings, he was quietly maneuvering, pulling strings that left her blindsided. And while executives packaged her departure as business as usual, her version of events paints it as anything but routine. Her words cut deep, not only exposing cracks in ESPN's inner circle, but also raising uncomfortable questions about how far ambition can go before it crosses into betrayal. This wasn't some routine reshuffle where a contract quietly expires and everyone moves on. Nope, this one reeks of backroom chess moves, bruised egos, and whispers that ESPN would rather you not hear. For years, Molly was the steady hand on First Take. While Stephen A. Smith went off on fiery tangents, she kept the show balanced like the referee nobody noticed, but everybody needed. Fans loved it. The formula just worked. Then, out of nowhere, she was gone. No hint, no lead up. Just missing from the desk one morning, and boom, the rumor mill went into overdrive. Sure, Molly posted the usual "thank you for the memories" goodbye on Instagram. She praised her colleagues, thanked the fans, tied it up with a neat little bow. Classic PR. But let's be real, those polished farewell posts are often where the real dirt gets buried. ESPN tried to spin it too, rolling out highlight clips, warm tributes, and their best "nothing to see here" smiles. But what they didn't do was explain the storm that was brewing off camera. What they also forgot is that people always find out the truth sooner or later. ESPN's trying to sweep the situation under the rug only made things worse. Now, many believe ESPN knew everything from the start but chose not to act. Instead, they're trying to protect themselves by throwing Molly under the bus. Even Stephen spoke about Molly's sudden departure from ESPN, and by the sound of it, he didn't see it coming. On his SiriusXM show Tuesday, Smith confirmed that his longtime First Take co-host had abruptly resigned on Monday night after more than a decade on air together. ESPN, he said, had been deep in contract talks with Molly and had no intention of letting her go. But despite that, she decided to walk away effective immediately. Smith didn't sugarcoat how the news hit him. To say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement, he admitted. He described Molly not just as a colleague, but as a trusted friend and partner, someone he leaned on just as much as she leaned on him during their 10 years hosting together. Still, Smith made it clear he wasn't going to spill every detail. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business, he said, adding that he didn't even know the full story himself. All he could confirm was that contract negotiations were underway. ESPN didn't want to lose her, and then just like that, she was gone.
A lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business.
Smith even read Molly's own Instagram post confirming the exit, admitting her decision completely blindsided him. He further said, "To be blunt, it came as a shock. I was not aware that this was something she was contemplating doing, but in the end, she made her decision, and we have to move on as a show." Smith said, "I don't like it. I'm not happy about it because I appreciate her and what she has meant to me, the show and the business. And I'm going to miss her. It's just that simple. But we all make decisions that we deem to be in our best interest for whatever reason. And that story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I going to share it with you? No, because again, that's her story to tell." But then the bombshell dropped, and the storm Stephen was trying to hide with his sweet words finally broke. It wasn't Molly or ESPN who lit the match. The first big accusation came from a surprising corner, someone claiming to be Stephen A. Smith's ex-girlfriend. That's when the whispers turned into a wildfire. The so-called whistleblower didn't just poke holes in ESPN's image, she lit the whole place up. Her accusations were so out there, people couldn't decide whether to laugh or grab the popcorn. She allegedly accused Molly of being out to get Smith. According to her, Molly wasn't just unhappy, she was deliberately trying to ruin him. She said Molly leaked details about his contract, talked with rival networks behind his back, and even tried to stir up an H scandal that could have destroyed his career. The motive, she claimed, was simple: jealousy, revenge, and a craving for the spotlight. Then came the viral punchline: Molly wants Stephen A's money when she doesn't have Stephen A's talent. That one line flipped Molly's whole public image, making her look less like the calm moderator fans were used to and more like someone desperate to stay relevant while Stephen A kept rising. That jab alone rewrote Molly's image. Suddenly, she wasn't the calm referee we thought we knew, but a competitor clawing for relevance while Stephen A's empire only grew. Even if you call those claims over the top, there's no denying the tension. The air at ESPN was thick enough to cut with a knife. Fans had already noticed the sparks on camera, little jabs that didn't feel like playful banter.
Yesterday when we talked, we knew that she was leaving, but we didn't know she was leaving like immediately, which is an indication that, man, this thing's a bit more complicated than just they couldn't settle on the money. It just seems more serious. She's off the show now.
Clips started circulating of Molly and Steven snapping at each other, bickering over guest picks, throwing sly shade about paychecks, fighting for airtime like the cameras weren't even rolling. Steven himself fanned the flames. On air, he bragged about fighting to secure big money deals, for colleagues Shannon Sharp included, before dropping a cold line: "No, I'm not coming into work tomorrow." Fans instantly started decoding it as a dig aimed squarely at Molly. The back and forth only got messier. Molly once joked that Steven practically monitored her every move, bathroom trips included. His sharp comeback wasn't the kind of laugh-it-off retort viewers expected. It had bite, the kind that made audiences wonder if the feud had burst out of the green room and straight into their living rooms. From there, the internet did what the internet does best: spiraled. Every glare, every sarcastic quip, every tense body language clip was dissected like a Zapruder film. And according to insiders, it all came to a head in Connecticut just weeks before Molly's mysterious exit. An all-out blow-up that staff are still whispering about. The breaking point wasn't some petty squabble. It was a meltdown so explosive that security reportedly had to step in. Depending on who's telling the story, Steven accused Molly of selling him out, while Molly fired right back, saying he was the one undercutting her. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, desperately trying to scrub Slack messages and keep the higher-ups from catching wind. But this wasn't a spat you laugh off and smooth over with a handshake. This was a nuclear detonation. The only thing left was damage control. And that fallout, it landed squarely on ESPN's executives. Suddenly, there were warm statements everywhere, polished press lines about Molly pursuing new opportunities and personal growth. Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content, even went on record calling her an integral part of the network since 2006. It was all very polite, very corporate, very nothing to see here. But anyone who's been around this game knows when the suits swear there's no shoe left to drop, you'd better brace yourself.
The other thing I thought, Steve, was when you pay Stephen A. Smith $20 million, that means, okay, well, whoever his co-host is, they're going to want an exorbitant amount of money. And so she may have been making $2.5, $3 million as the host. Well, when Stephen A. is sitting there making 20, well, maybe now she wants to make 10. And maybe ESPN will, oh, we'll pay you 5, Molly.
The timing made it impossible to ignore. Molly's goodbye was trending 1 minute, and the next, Malika Andrews pops up with a fat new contract extension. Fans weren't buying the coincidence. To them, it looked like ESPN had played a slick game of chess, quietly swapping queens while hoping the audience wouldn't notice the board flipping. Then came Steven's cryptic act on air. He put on his sad colleague face, saying, "To say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement." But almost in the same breath, he hit fans with a wall of secrecy. The details, quite frankly, are none of your business. And it's not as if I know all the details. That landed like the sound of glass shattering behind a locked door. He doubled down. That story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course. Am I going to share it? No. Translation? Whatever happened here was nasty enough to stay buried. Naturally, the internet went into detective mode. Every smirk, side-eye, and awkward exchange between Molly and Steven got replayed frame by frame like it was evidence in a courtroom. One viral clip showed Steven poking fun at Molly's eating habits during a commercial break. Was it just a throwaway joke or a personal dig that hinted at bad blood? Either way, backlash exploded. Fans called it disrespectful, some even labeling it proof that their feud had been simmering for years. And then, like pouring gasoline on the fire, Stephen A's ex started dropping receipts. She claimed Molly wasn't just stirring up drama on her own. She was allegedly teaming up with ESPN managers who had their own grudges against Stephen's rise to dominance. That's not petty beef. That's an office Cold War. Add in whispers that Molly's contract demands had skyrocketed, sparking a tug of war over paychecks and airtime, and suddenly the whole thing looked less like a resignation and more like a power struggle gone nuclear. Behind the slick studio lights and those TV-perfect smiles, insiders were whispering about something else entirely. Ego wars, jealous rivalries, and backstabbing straight out of a primetime soap opera. But here's the wild part. According to the conspiracy crowd, ESPN wasn't even scrambling to fix the Molly versus Stephen A drama. Nope, their real panic button was all about the brand saving face, while ratings slipped and rival networks circled like sharks. Whispers flew in every direction. Was Molly really plotting to undercut Stephen, trying to push him out, snatch his paycheck, or was she simply refusing to fade into the background as ESPN's next big thing gained momentum? Nobody could separate fact from spin, but one thing was obvious: the stakes were higher than ever. Molly's health struggles made her an unlikely villain in all this. Yet when Stephen A's ex dragged her illness into the spotlight, it set Twitter ablaze. Was it sympathy bait, or was it part of a carefully timed escape plan to slip out before the drama went nuclear? Fans connected dots like detectives, but every line led to more smoke. And in that smoke, ESPN lost its steady hand. First Take's anchor, the woman who kept Stephen A's fire under control, was suddenly gone. The network scrambled to fill the chair, while hungry replacements circled overhead like vultures. Officially, ESPN insisted it was business as usual. Unofficially, the chaos told another story. Stephen A only made it messier. For a man who built his empire on never holding back, his restraint was deafening. The details, quite frankly, are none of your business, he told viewers, hiding behind vagueness. That's not Stephen A. Restraint isn't in his DNA. And that silence, it rang louder than any rant he's ever unleashed. Was he protecting Molly, protecting himself, or sitting on a truth so explosive it could rattle the entire ESPN boardroom? Fans tore apart his cryptic comments like clues in a crime scene. Each breadcrumb made the mystery bigger, not smaller. And then boom, the twist. Molly's out, Malika's in. As Molly packed her things, Malika Andrews was ushered in with a brand new, headline-making contract. To the audience, it didn't look random. It looked orchestrated. A power move. Theories exploded. Had ESPN been plotting this all along? Was Malika the chosen one, while Molly got pushed out the back door? Or was Molly simply collateral damage in a much dirtier chess match being played behind ESPN's glass walls? A veteran producer, someone who's lived through more internal shakeups than most of us can count, put it bluntly. Forget the games. The real competition at ESPN is all about power. And no one's untouchable, not even the stars. That brings us straight to Stephen A. Smith. His contracts are the kind you'd expect from an NFL sideline, not a talk show desk. And the ripple effect is obvious. Every time he signs another monster deal, the tension inside Bristol jumps a few notches. Then there's Malika Andrews, moving fast and building her own influence. In the middle of all this, Molly's sudden exit looks less like routine turnover and more like fallout from a turf war. Executives will spin it as just business decisions. But the timing feels way too surgical, like trimming anyone who doesn't perfectly align with the new hierarchy. But then, the rumors started to swirl. Whispers of Molly keeping a blackmail folder. According to multiple plugged-in insiders, she supposedly had a private stash loaded with sensitive emails, recordings, and years' worth of off-the-record dirt on both execs and on-air talent. If even part of that exists, it's not a folder, it's a weapon. Something that could buy leverage for a cushy contract, or at least a safe landing elsewhere. One former production assistant swears she glimpsed emails tied to contract disputes and nasty draft complaints. Another insider claims voice notes existed, awkward exchanges between anchors and management. The exact details? Still locked away. But the fact that people believe this stash is real has ESPN's legal team on edge, guarding against leaks like it's Fort Knox. If a single piece of that supposed arsenal ever surfaced at the wrong time, ESPN's polished empire could collapse faster than a house of cards. A user said, "Molly was one of the only reasons I used to watch the show. Had to stop watching because Stephen A. was just too full of himself. He became a caricature of himself. Power corrupts, and now he's coming off like a punk. None of his co-hosts, other than Molly, would really call him out because they were afraid of losing their jobs. Honestly, Molly's exit feels less like a career move and more like the fallout of something bigger and uglier behind closed doors. People aren't buying the polished statements or Stephen A.'s carefully worded, 'I don't know all the details.' He's a guy who thrives on speaking his mind, so when he suddenly starts holding back, it screams that there's more to this story than anyone's admitting. Fans are already connecting the dots. Was Molly pushed out so Malika could slide in? Did her health struggles play into it? Or was it really about money and power? And what about those whispers of a blackmail folder? Real or not, just the idea of it has people convinced skeletons are rattling around at ESPN. The audience doesn't see this as a clean break. To them, it looks like a chess game gone wrong, with Molly's sacrifice so the network could tighten its grip on who gets the spotlight. Some think she was betrayed, some think she was playing her own game. But almost everyone agrees this wasn't just business as usual. At the end of the day, the way fans see it, Molly didn't just resign, she got caught in the middle of a power struggle that ESPN desperately wanted to keep under wraps. And until the full truth comes out, people are going to keep speculating, because the silence around this speaks louder than the statements.